Hey everybody, as promised, I'm here today to talk to you about the eye brushes that I use every single day. My favorite eye brushes for blending out eyeshadow, for doing my eyebrows, for packing on color, all the things. So let's just get into it. I need to start by putting on my brows. I've been using a brow powder lately and it has been just so good. And I have used a couple different angled brushes, but this e.l.f. eyebrow duo brush is like really good and I have liked it over the other ones that I have tried, surprisingly, and I've tried quite a few. Something about this is precise and yet blends out really well. If you watched my face video, you know that I just really like things that are going to blend out quick but still give me some precision but look natural at the same time. So this one's just perfect, plus it comes with the spoolie on the other end, which is an added bonus. So I'll just go ahead and fill in my brows really quick with this. For those of you who are just hopping in, I just filmed the face portion of my brushes. So I went through all my favorite face brushes for foundation, concealer, powder, cream products, powder products, all the things, and like what I'd use them for, and showed you how I use them. So I will link that down below if you want to see the other half of this. But yeah, that's about it for my brows. You see how quick that was? Gosh, I just had my eyebrows tinted as well, so it does take me way less time because they're all sort of a more defined color already, and I like them to look very natural, so I don't need to like spend a million years filling them in. It's pretty quick and easy for me now. I feel like they look better in real life than they do on camera, but we're just gonna leave it at that. So yes, best eyebrow brush, the e.l.f. eyebrow duo brush. Now I have a lot of blending brushes that I like, and I feel like that's one place where you need a lot of brushes because blending brushes just make the biggest difference in your eyeshadow application. So I'm not gonna be able to go through all of these, like use all of them on my eyes today, but I will use a couple favorites and then I will kind of sound off in the comments all my other favorites. For my overall, like, well, let me grab out my eyeshadows first before I start going. Okay, for my first kind of lay down all over transition shade brush, I really like the Morphe M532 and also the Morphe M504. So both very large. This one is just a little bit more tapered and this one is a little bit more just like open and fluffy at the end. So I really like both of these for my initial kind of color because they will sweep it kind of all over the crease area and even onto the lid a little bit too. So this one right here that I'm using is the Morphe M532. And it just lays on that color really nicely. If I'm doing a one and done eyeshadow look, I will usually use this M504, which is the more tapered one, and just like throw some sort of a color on and then kind of sweep it with the same brush underneath the eyes, and then I'm like good to go. So I really like both of these for laying down the color. This is the M504 right now, right? Yes. You can see they kind of give like a similar effect. Yeah, and they work really well if you need like a giant all over lid, not lid, crease color. If you have very small eyelids, you might not want something quite this big, but I think it's a good one just to like lay down your initial shade. I said that a million times. Moving on. Two others that I really like for laying down initial color. I don't have the names of these anymore. I don't even think these exist. These are natural hair bristles from Morphe. They're a little bit smaller, but very frayed and fanned out. And I like these for laying down the initial like color as well. They're a little bit more scratchy, which in my opinion helps not to have the brush get like stuck in one place on your skin. It really helps it to glide over if you have like loose skin on your eyes. I feel like these natural hair bristles help with that a little bit as well, but I don't know if these are made anymore. Oh, Morphe? Oh, I can, oh, nope, the names are completely worn off. So I don't know what these are. Oh, it's getting hot in here. I wore my robe because I'm just feeling, you know, like just being cozy, but now I'm getting so warm. Who knew? Okay, keeping going. Oh, there's another one of these natural hair ones. Again, I have no name on this. This one's a little bit of a smaller brush head, but I like these all the same. Sorry, I don't know what those are. So then going just about a size down from that, so still a very large fluffy blending brush, but something a little bit more precise, is these two. This is the Morphe M200. So a little bit more precision through here, like the ferrule's a little bit smaller, but still very large and long and fluffy. And then also the M441 from Morphe, a very popular one. Pretty much everybody has this brush. This is one that I would recommend getting a couple of, because you're gonna put different sorts of shades on with these brushes, and so you wanna make sure you have one that's like clean all the time. And even during one look, you could want to use, you know, multiples of these. So I think it's nice to have some of these in multiples. Fluffy blending brushes are just always the way to go. So yes, these ones are great. Love that. Then let's sides down from there a little bit. Man, I still have so many. We're gonna try to run through these quickly. These are about the same size, barely smaller than the others. This is the Morphe M573, so just barely smaller, a little bit more tapered than the other. This is a Profusion brush. This came in a Profusion palette, and I don't know if they sell them separately, but these Profusion brushes are really good actually. I was pretty impressed. The difference between like these two, this one's way more tapered and this one's way more like flat on top. Then one other that's a little bit more tapered is the M330 from Morphe. I really like this brush because it is a little bit, again, more precise, but still very tapered. I think it's a really pretty brush. Let's use this today. I'm going really warm with my look. I haven't done a look like this in so long. So this will be fun. So right now I'm using this to lay down my shadow on the outer corner, which I have other brushes that I like for that mostly, but this will really help just to carry that pigment up into the crease a little bit better as well. Then I will always keep my original blending brush on hand. This isn't really a tutorial per se today, but just to blend out the edges. Okay, I don't think we're gonna use any more of these blending brushes today, so let me just run you through them. I have 2 of these from Anastasia, which I actually really like. I know people always just get brushes that are inside of palettes and get rid of them, but I found some that are really good, like that Profusion one, and then these from Anastasia. These are dual-ended. They have a pretty good like blending brush on the one side and then more of a shader brush on the other. These are similar but a little bit different. I will use this side for packing on darker colors like right at the lash line or blending right under the lower lash line, and then I really do actually like these blending brushes as well, so those are really good. This, I shouldn't even talk about this because this is the oldest brush in the whole wide world. I think this was my mother's that I stole from her when I first originally started doing makeup. This is the Revlon Contour Shadow Brush. So it's tapered, but it's pretty short. This is very good for pressing that pigment right onto this outer corner. It's really weird. It is so old and I don't think they make these anymore, but the Revlon Contour Shadow Brush is surprisingly really good for this outer corner. This Real Techniques Base Shadow Brush is another really good blending brush. This one's great because it's not a round ferrule, it's pinched on this side right here. So if you're trying to get into your crease, you turn the brush on its side like this instead of this way, and you can really precisely just hit that color in the crease. You can even turn it on its side after that and buff it out a little bit more, but this gives you really good precision while still blending well because it is tapered and really nice. This is an interesting brush. This is the Morphe M332. It's kind of large, but the bristles are really short, so I feel like it packs on pigment as well a little bit better. I don't use this one too much except for just kind of like right there on that outer corner because it's so the bristles are short, so you can't do a ton of like really good fluffed out blending. Oh, this brush is so good. I should use this really quick. This is the e.l.f. crease brush. This is the tiniest little, skinniest little blending brush. Let me compare this to like this Profusion brush. Can you see how few bristles there are in comparison? This is so good if you are trying to get just right in that crease and hit that color super precisely while still blending it out. Let's take this shade right here. Let me show you. If you just barely graze along this right here, just slowly, oh my gosh, it just hits the perfect spot. So if you have a hard time getting right up into your crease, e.l.f. crease brush. I'm pretty sure this is like $2 too. So I just go for it. It's so good. Okay, I'm doing the weirdest eye look ever because that was just a really deep shade, just like right above all of my transitions. But I felt like I needed to show you just how that can really deepen up your crease. Like you can see, hopefully you can see. It's hard in natural light to really show the difference in the eyeshadows. I feel like they're a lot more vibrant with studio lighting, but this is the way I do it because this is the way I'm sure everybody else does it too. But yeah, it just gives you so much more precision in that crease. I love the e.l.f. crease brush. The last one I have is this e.l.f. blending brush. This one is very different. It's very, very flat and still tapered, but more of almost like a shader brush shape. But I actually really, really like this in the crease as well. Kind of same thing as the e.l.f. base shadow brush. They're still like both kind of pinched, but then domed. I just feel like these get into that crease really well, and then you could turn them again like on their side and really buff out those edges. So I really like both of those a lot too. There's a lot more eye brushes than there were face brushes. Okay, if we were gonna pack shadow on the lid, to be honest with you, I just use my fingertips for the most part. If I'm going to pack anything on the lid, it's probably going to be with this Morphe M124 brush. Just a really nice small packing brush, but again, I really rarely do that. If I'm going to cut the crease, which again, rarely do that, but if you wanna use anything with concealer to blank out your lids a little bit, this doesn't have a name on it. Morphe something, just a tiny, really little precision kind of concealer brush type thing. You can also use this guy or something similar to this to clean up right underneath your eyebrows if you like that kind of thing, like carve out the brows, carve out the lid. These are really good. Okay, this brush is different and I use it for something different than what you would think. It's a technique that I just kind of started doing. I did this just recently in my last video. It was my first like official fall tutorial video. I'll link that down below if you want to check out the technique that I do with this brush. This is the Morphe M204. It looks like a shader brush or a packing brush, but what I do with this is I take a really deep color and stamp it into my crease, and then I'll use something like the little e.l.f. crease brush to just buff that out. But this, I just love the idea of like placing the color into my crease exactly where I want it so that it's exactly the same on both sides. No matter what the skin on your eyes is like, even if they're uneven, you can use something like this and just like press that in to get it more precise and even on both sides. The Morphe M204 could probably also be used for like putting a darker shade just right along your lash line or underneath your lashes, but I just mainly use it for that. So let me pack on a little bit of a lid shade real quick. Again, just using my fingertips because that is the way to do it. Okay, now that that is on, let's see. Oh, quickly, one shading brush that I love for the outer corners if you want to really deepen them up is the M222 from Morphe. I know I have a lot of Morphe brushes, okay? It's because I have gotten sets of them and they're good. They're just good, okay? And I just like to buy things that are more affordable. Anyway, a lot of my makeup is drugstore, and like I said, they're good. They have variety, and I've gotten them as gifts in big sets, and you can buy them individually really easily, unlike a lot of brushes. Like, I really like Real Techniques brushes, but there's not many that I love that aren't in a kit, and I don't want to have to buy a kit every single time I have to buy one brush. So lots of Morphe, so I'm sorry about that, but they're good. So the Morphe M222 is a small little like pencil brush, but I love this for packing on deeper shades on the outer corner. I think this is really good for that. Okay, lastly is the lower lash line and then just the inner corners, and I pretty much use exclusively 3 brushes on my lower lash line. The first would be, this is an Eco Tools brush. I don't know what it is. If I can find it, I'll figure it out. This is just a flat definer brush. It's better than any of the ones that I've ever tried. I have a few others, and there's the difference just by size and everything. The reason I like this one the best is because since the bristles are a little shorter, they're almost a little more stiff. So instead of getting like caught, say like with this brush, if I move my fingers side to side really even softly, the bristles get caught on my fingertips for the most part. But if I do that same motion with this brush, they're able to move back and forth. And I find that I have a hard time getting the pigment to really buff out because this brush will get stuck in one spot, whereas my Eco Tools brush will move the pigment a little bit better. I'll try to figure out what this one is called because this one is one that I use like pretty much every day if I'm putting anything dark underneath my lash line, then I'm definitely using this. The one after that for about like my middle transition shade color is this. This is a Sonia Kashuk brush. It's number 112. A little bit of a shader brush, but it's fairly small, so I can take, you know, something that's kind of like a mid-tone color, not too dark, not too light, and it will buff it out really well without taking the color too low. If you don't like a smoked out lash line, you could definitely just stop here. But I am going to use a larger brush as well, just to kind of buff out that last color. Then lastly, this Morphe M209. Even if I'm just putting on bronzer, I love using this under my lashes. Let me show you the difference in size between the one I just used and this one. It is a lot larger, but I love this because it's gonna buff out that color just so perfectly, and it's like really soft, so it's easy to kind of buff it from inner to outer corner without tugging on your eyes. It's so good. I don't even know what to say. It's just so good. And then with this brush too, I can like take it up and buff into this outer corner a little bit more just to get the angle that I want or connect it to the lower lash line, that kind of thing. So yeah, that is that. Oh, my last brush. This is I don't know what this is called either. This is one of the natural hair bristle brushes again. This is a Morphe brush, and it is a very, very flat little tiny shader brush. I love this for my inner corner highlight. I will try to figure out what this is called too, because this is the one that I use every single day. I just threw on a little mascara and just putting on a little lip to finish this video up. My lips are so dry. It's just depressing. All right, well, that is it. That's a rundown on all of my favorite eyeshadow brushes, the only brushes that I use, the brushes that I truly do use every day, just depending on what different looks I'm doing. Again, like I said, I did my face makeup using all of my go-to favorite, all-time favorite, loves of my life brushes in my Tuesday video, so I will link that down below if you want to see it. But otherwise, I think that is all. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.